In the United States, spending on healthcare tops $4 trillion, representing a staggering 18.3% of GDP. The death of a Florida woman is tied to an experimental Alzheimer's drug. And experts say RSV has peaked, but we're not done with the flu or COVID-19. These are the stories we'll be covering on This Week in Healthcare Tech. Hello, and welcome to This Week in Healthcare Tech. Every week, we'll be bringing you the hardest-hitting news from the intersection of healthcare and technology. First up, the United States has always made headlines for its sky-high medical bills, and that trend shows no sign of slowing down. In 2021, annual spending on healthcare increased by 2.7%, reaching an eye-watering $12,914 per person, or $4.3 trillion in total. At 18.3% of GDP, this figure is not the highest it's been in recent years. It was 19.7 in 2020, but it's still substantial. Interestingly, the underlying data tells a complex story. Spending on Medicare increased by 8.4%, and spending on Medicaid rose by 9.2%, but total federal government spending declined by 3.5% due to a decrease in funding related to COVID-19. Healthcare spending in the U.S. continues to dramatically outstrip similar figures for other developed countries, with no bipartisan solution in sight. Next up, the death of a 79-year-old woman in Florida has been linked to lecanemab, an experimental treatment for Alzheimer's. Other than being in the early stages of Alzheimer's, she showed no signs of health complications, but she passed away from swelling and bleeding of the brain after beginning treatment. This is the third such fatality that might be attributable to lecanemab, which adds to the 13 deaths reported during the drug's primary clinical trial. Lecanemab's manufacturer Biogen and the Japanese firm Eisai have not yet disclosed details related to any of these cases, making it difficult for outside parties to determine whether lecanemab is responsible or if there are other factors at play. Finally, parents will no doubt be happy to hear that the peak of RSV may be behind us. But experts say we're not out of the woods with the flu or COVID-19. Hospitalizations related to COVID-19 are rising again as the Omicron variant runs wild. But a major factor in this year's cold season's special nastiness is the explosion of more common viruses such as plain influenza. Thanks to lockdowns, masking, and other measures adopted during the pandemic, we've also had a few light flu seasons. But that also means that our immune systems didn't get their annual workouts, leaving many populations vulnerable to infection. For now, experts are urging precautions like masking up in crowds and staying in if you're feeling under the weather. That's it for this episode. Tune in to This Week in Healthcare Tech next week for the latest news, and don't forget to like this episode, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. Thanks for joining me, and until next time.